Hello and welcome back to another episode of the Gemma and Rach Let's Chat podcast. We had a couple of weeks off, we had a couple of things going on, but we're back and we are now heading into the run-up to Christmas. Yes, I said it, Christmas. It's not too early. I don't want anyone coming at us in the comments about it. It is on its way. And what we're going to look to do is each week now create episodes that are going to help you navigate that time between now and Christmas and beyond. And this week we're going to be looking at how do you deal with those fluctuations in the scale. So how do we deal with seeing those gains, or how do we get past that to continue to move forward? Because the reality is not every weight loss journey, if any, is going to be completely smooth sailing. So if that is something that you think will help you, which I think it will, you know what to do. Pop on your headphones, link at the Bluetooth, grab a brew and let's chat. Gem, we've been off a couple of weeks.
I know, it feels like a really long time. Maybe it's a bit more than a couple of weeks. I don't know, but there's a lot going on. Half term, we're back to routine today. So yeah,
I know, back to normality, which is nice. But I have also felt since like half term's come to an end, I feel like yesterday, the first day back after half term, I had more questions, panicking about what do I do with this and this? What happens if this happens? Than I've had in a very long time. And it's because people are nervous about the fact that we know things are going to start getting a little bit busier perhaps in the next 4 weeks or so.
And I saw a post this morning actually on Instagram just saying, you know, there's no good time in the year. If you look at the beginning of the year, you've got the spring coming up, or you've got loads of plans or whatever, or you've still got your Christmas food left over, and then you look at the summer and there's the summer holidays, you can't do it then. So then you look at before Christmas, well, can't do it then because Christmas is coming. But if you break the year down into sort of like four quarters, there's no good time ever. So you just have to make the most of the time you can do it.
Exactly. And, you know, it may mean that you cannot get this clear run that you have in your mind. But I think an important thing to remember is there may not be a clear run set out for you, but you can create it. And we're kind of going to cover both sides of the coin in today's episode, looking at it from two perspectives, because there are decisions that you get to make in the run up to Christmas on how you want to interact with those events and food and all the rest of it. And the more knowledge and the more information you have ahead of making those plans, the more informed you can be to make your decisions as to what you want to do. So there's always going to be kind of two main options. There's going to be you stick to plan, you just stick to your step, whatever it is, and we navigate any of those conversations or events or anything like that. Or you flex plan a little bit, but you accept that that may lead to seeing numbers on the scale that you don't particularly like, or not getting the progress that you want within that certain set of time. And I think it's important, Jen, to say that there is no right or wrong. Like,
it's true. And it's different for everybody.
For them.
Yeah, definitely. And like, you know, me and you were very straight down the line, very, 100% on plan, navigated any events that we had, and we still stuck to plan, just made sure everyone knew around us what we were doing. I kind of just wanted to get it done, only because I didn't want to waste any time. I just wanted it done quick. Basically, I'm quite impatient. But, you know, that isn't the same for everybody. A lot of people do have a very sociable life, and they do really want to still have meals out. But again, it's about making those better choices at those events and actually thinking about what you've always done and doing something different now, because I think a lot of people still want to live their life that they already live, but they want to lose weight. And it's like, but if you don't change anything, that your weight's not going to change. Do you know what I mean? So you do have to compromise. You do have to make changes somewhere, whether that's, 100% of the time or 80% of the time. Even with 80% now, you still see progress. It would just be slower than maybe what you expected. But your point there is, as long as you're happy with that and your expectations are in the right place, then it's okay because you've made that choice.
That's it. But I think you have to be really honest with yourself, because like you, for me, there was never a question. No matter what came up, I was going to be sticking to plan 100%. And, whilst I was doing plan, I had my 30th birthday. I had Poppy's first birthday. We lost a close family member and had to deal with the kind of grief of that. I went back to work after maternity leave. And so I had like work functions and things. So it wasn't as if it was a completely clear run, which I think people might think if they look at my weight loss from then and back in 2021 and see that she just stuck to plan the whole time. I think probably looked like a bit of a hermit. But it wasn't. It was really challenging. Obviously, we were still in lockdowns. We were still dealing with all of the emotional upheaval that was bringing. But I knew that nothing that I was going to face was going to be harder than what I was facing day to day when I was overweight and struggling with my weight. Like I had been in like such a rough place. And I think if your weight is being a part of any decision you're making in the day that's making you question whether you should or shouldn't do something, that tells you everything you need to know when it comes to how important this is for you to focus on. Because I just want people to get to a place where if they get invited somewhere, you get invited to the wedding, you get invited to the Christmas party, whatever it is, one of the first things you don't think about is, oh my God, what am I going to wear? Oh my God, how can I lose that half a stone really quickly? How can I do that? Because that isn't how we want you to live. And so it's kind of that old cliche of pick your heart. And for me,
100%.
it's actually easier to just say no completely and just be like, no, thank you, don't want that, I'm okay, than it was to say yes, but with like caveats to it and with like rules to that yes, because I knew that that was only going to mess with my head, because for so long I'd been on diets or I'd done things that kind of sold me this thing of, oh yeah, you don't need to diet, you just need to do a little bit of change a little bit of this, and it was like, that's not going to work for me, because I can't say no. I can't have moderation. That is the problem.
But that's why step one works so well for you. I think it's really important to say as well, step one doesn't have to be the step that you do. Like if you want to be 100% on plan, like I did step two because I wanted that meal. I just preferred to have something that I'd cooked as opposed to a product. I knew I could do that. And it is kind of knowing and accepting what you can commit to and being honest with yourself. And a lot of my clients, I need to do step three because I need to have this, this and this. But then they still have step 4 or step 5 calories. So they're still pushing the boundaries on any step. So it's about really committing to a step, whether that's step 1 or step 5, whatever you want to do. You do have to commit to it, I think. Like
100%.
For it to work, you just do.
You're not going to get a medal for doing a certain step and losing weight, right? And I had this conversation with one of my slimmers this week who was feeling some negative emotions around the fact that step 1 wasn't working for her. She's struggling with it. She's got very, very social life. Very, very social life. Yeah. She is like out for meals multiple times a week with clients and things like that. So, what step 1 just was never really going to work. But she found that doing step 3 and sometimes stepping up to step 4, if she was going out to particular restaurants and things like that, worked really well for her. But she had this guilt that she felt like she was not as good a person, or she wasn't as determined or motivated because she couldn't do step 1. And when I was speaking to her, I was like, it's so interesting that you say that, because I almost had the opposite. I really struggled with step 3. I struggled with the thought of counting those calories and tracking that meal. For me, step 1 was easy. Step 1 gave me freedom, ironically. Like to some people, they'd be
Which is really common.
Yeah. But people who perhaps that isn't going to work best for would be like, freedom? What do you mean freedom? You had restriction, you had no real food or whatever. But actually, that was such a huge relief to me to not have that. And so the idea of then having an event and having to step out of that comfort zone, so what? I could have a meal, or I could have a bit of a buffet, or I could have a bit of birthday cake. It was like, that's not worth giving up.
Yeah, it wasn't worth it for you at all. I remember.
No, like, and people will say, but I don't have to explain to people, or I don't want to have those conversations. Why not? Like
people pleasing. That's such a thing, isn't it?
Such a thing. And if you haven't already, and that is something that you relate to, you have to go back and watch our episode surrounding boundaries, because we go through in really great depth about how to put those boundaries in place in a way that suits you and the people that you're looking to implement them with, because it is so important. Like if somebody else, if how they feel over you not eating a meal is more important than how you feel struggling with your weight, you need to look at that and have a really honest conversation with yourself. And I remember thinking as well, I was scared to tell people that I was on plan in the beginning, like family members and what have you.
Yeah.
But I then had to say to myself one day, what, you don't think they know you've got a problem with your weight? You don't think people can see that? No one wants to bring it up because it's become this really taboo, sensitive subject. So you have to own it, and you need to reassure them that, no, guys, this is the right thing for me to do. This is where I'm feeling really good.
Got to be confident, haven't you, in your response to them? Yeah.
And then, Jamie put a birthday candle in a peanut crispy bar for me.
I'll never forget that. That was amazing.
But it's, I don't look back now at that time and think I was really missed out. I'm so grateful that I just did it, because I know for a fact I'm the personality type that if I'd come off or stepped up or however we want to label it, I don't think I would have got where I am today.
No. And I was very similar, even though I was on a slightly higher step. I just nothing was worth it for me. I just thought, why do a plan that I know is going to work so well? I did trust it. I really trusted what Debbie had told me and what I'd seen. And I thought, but I can't get those results if I don't do what it's telling me to do. So I just need to know. I'm quite stubborn. I was just like, I want to get the best. I want to get the best result that I know I could possibly get. And the only way I can do that is being 100%. So that I just thrived off that. I loved it. And then the proof was in it, how quick it was.
That's it. It's that kind of, when people say like, oh, it's not healthy to be like that long term, that we don't want you to be on it long term.
No.
That's the whole point.
That's why I wanted to get it done.
Yeah. If you follow it 100%, and, we've done episodes previously explaining the science and the methodology behind the plan. And if you follow that 100%, you will get that weight gone and get into maintenance in the quickest time possible. Don't let your brain play these games with you where you get to a place where it feels like you're almost going to push through the glass ceiling of possibilities when it comes to you actually controlling this. And so you start getting scared, and maybe you start messing about a bit with plan, or you start to that is the moment you need to lean into your consultant, and you need to trust the plan and trust that you do not know better than the plan when it comes to what you need to do for weight loss. If I knew better than Dr. Howard, then I would not have been in the place I was in 3 years ago, because you can have the knowledge, but applying it and how to make it work for you is something completely different. And that's what they did so well, is they looked at, okay, this is how we get people to lose weight safely, effectively. We all know that. And actually, these are the steps that if people do, we can correct behaviours and actually fundamentally change people's interactions with food. So if you are going to step up, which we're going to speak about in a second, stick to the step. Because like Jem said, otherwise you can be messing about a little bit and you end up just getting frustrated with yourself. So your first option, with it all with Christmas and everything approaching, is to stick with your step. Maybe that means now that what you need to do is book in a call with your consultant, or, sit down with diary and plan out, what events have I got coming up? What events are like a non-event, as in it's maybe just like drinks, or, there's not food really involved. You can kind of get away with that. And what events mean actually what I need to do now is have conversations with these people so that the conversation's done ahead of time and I don't have to worry about it in the lead up. We have the conversation now when I'm not feeling like stressed and really emotional about the issue. And then we can just enjoy whatever event it is that we're doing. So I think that it's important to not put it off and to actually just look now and say, right, what am I worried about? And be honest with your consultant. What is it you're worried about? What is it you're worried about for not having that food at the work do? Like, okay.
And like you say, don't wait to worry about it. And that's exactly what we're here for. Like, I love having those conversations. That's what the weekly calls are for, to plan ahead for things that you're stressing about. I've actually had a lot of those conversations because from sort of mid-November, weirdly, Christmas stuff does start happening. And me and you are like a perfect example. The amount we've got coming up socially means I'm now fully in control when I'm at home, because I know that there's going to be, and in maintenance, obviously, you've got a little bit more movement. So I know I can be more overindulgent on those times, but I still have to be really strict at home. And I'm still doing that behind the scenes because I know that will make me feel better and I feel fully in control. And actually, in the grand scheme of things, in 2 months, there's probably only like 8 things. So it's not loads, but it feels like loads when you think about it.
That's it. Like Nat put up yesterday, didn't she, that between now and Christmas, even if you had like 14 meals or something off plan, you would still have been on plan 80% of the time. So it's like
so important to look at. And take away the guilt, I think.
You're going to chuck it all in, because for 80%, like in what other area of your life would getting 80% in something be a massive failure? Like, it would be, you'd be like, do you know what? I've bossed that 80% of the time I was able to smash it. So it is important to draw out kind of what things are looking like so you can make plans. And like we said, it may be that sticking to your step isn't going to be what works for certain events. And I'm quite a good example of this with the next couple of weeks, because I've been back on plan for 2 months. And I've been doing 1B, and we have got a lovely afternoon tea this weekend with our team for a team recognition event. And then we have got our annual one-to-one diet convention the week after, which is like the biggest event of the year for us one-to-one diet consultants. Now, both of those things, of course, I'm like, I want to enjoy some like some nice things. It's a celebration.
Yeah.
It's, you know, and we always say we're not here to demonize food. Food has got such a place in celebratory events that we have.
Yeah.
However, we're going to be careful and mindful about it. Now, for me, I always follow the rule that if I have an event, I will still have 2 products.
Yeah.
And I'll have 3 litres of water as an absolute rule. Like, that has to happen.
Amazing.
And then whatever happens with the meal happens with the meal. So I'm not on an official step, if you like. Trust me, I know it's probably going to be more than like 600 calories. So it's not like Rachel's not having enough.
But you're taking the pressure off though. There's no steps. There's nothing. You've made, do you know what? That is huge. You just saying you're going to have 3 litres and still have your 2 products. That is the perfect plan because you're still fully in control and you're compromising. Yeah.
And you know what? As long as I've had those 2 products and that water, regardless of what I have at afternoon tea, I've smashed that day. That is a tick in the box. Yeah. And for me, I am someone who can find calorie counting quite triggering. And so you would have seen before when I've gone up the steps, you'll see again very shortly when I go back up the steps, I do use a lot of foods and eat in ways which make it less of a ordeal for me. Because that's a personal thing for me that I struggle with a little bit. So if I was to put a calorie figure against what I'm going to have on Saturday, all that would happen is I would go, oh, Gem, how many calories do you think are in that scone? How many calories do you think's in the jam? What about
again? It's the guilt. It's that build up of stress. Like it's not needed.
And you know what? I'll probably eat less because I'm not stressed than I would.
100%. I was going to say that. That's kind of where I'm at. I definitely eat less because I'm just like, oh, that was lovely. I really enjoyed that scone. I don't need the other one. I'm not actually hungry. You can enjoy it.
There's not this feeling of like think of it as if you're racking money up on a credit card. You're racking calories up from an allowance you have. And so I think for me, and again, it's going to be different for everyone. Me and Jem can only really speak from our personal perspectives, but it's good because they are kind of different in how we do plan and maintenance. But for me, if actually it's like you've got free reign, part of my brain, suddenly it's not that fun to go crazy because it's like, I can have what I want. And, if, say me and Jem, like I was there before this event, Jem's my consultant again. Well, you are, but we're ahead of it. And I was, I could then say to, okay, I've got an afternoon tea. I am really worried about it because I know there's going to be loads of options there. Yeah. It could be overwhelming. And I'm worried that it's going to trigger me to just have absolutely everything and have no self-control. What would you say to me, Jem?
I would say don't panic, Rach. Let's plan it. And exactly what you're already, this is the beauty of you though, Rach. I am your consultant, but I don't need to, I feel like you've learned so much. Like the fact that you've already said you've planned to have your 3 litres of water. That's the first thing I say to my clients.
Yeah, always.
Prioritise your water. Water is so important because it not only fills you up, but you're still in control. You're still sticking to your, these tiny little habits that you're building into your life. You will take that forward forever now. And that one is huge. I feel like that's the top thing that I would ever say to anyone. Try and get in a couple of products. You've already said you're going to do that. You've already planned it exactly how I would tell you to do it. And eat enough and not feel guilty. Don't calorie count. Don't stress about it. Enjoy the food, but you don't need to overeat. It's still a choice. We still have a choice of what we put into our mouths and what we eat. And actually overeating is something that I used to do a lot because I was out. I saw it was a treat. It was
get your money's worth.
Get your money's worth, have as much as you possibly can because, it's free or whatever, it's included. It's same as all-inclusive holidays, eat as much as you can because it's included. I just don't have that in my brain anymore. And actually, I think the more time me and you spend together, we've become that person. I think, I mean, you're more of a sweet, maybe I'll have your sandwiches and you can have my scone.
But this is the thing, as well, I think it's not just figuring out like what you're going to have necessarily, but when we say like enjoy what you're having, like I know at afternoon tea, and you know me so well, like I'm really not that interested in you having sandwiches or all that stuff.
I love the sandwiches.
Which it's fab, but that means that I go to these things already knowing that I mean I look forward to the sweet stuff, so naturally I'm going to balance myself out because I'm not going to have as much as the savoury options that are available. Same as when we go out to when we have these events, normally there's like a 3-course dinner that's available. I don't really ever eat the starter. I always feel a little bit guilty, but It's just never
But
really
you
that
know you want the
interested.
pudding.
But I know I want that pudding. So for me, again, I'll be like, right, leave that. When I have my main, I normally will eat like the meat and veg. I'm not too fussed on the potatoes. Again, not because I'm restricting and depriving myself, but you best believe I'm waiting for that brownie to come and be delivered to my table.
Yeah.
So then when it comes, I can like enjoy it and, you know, whatever. So understanding if you're someone that really loves the savoury stuff, maybe when dessert comes, you don't eat it just because it's there. You give it to someone else, or as they come to put it down, you say, oh no, I'm okay, thank you. Like, you have got that control. And I think remembering that is a powerful thing, because you need to remember that whilst it can feel like we've been out of control with food for so long, in this moment, you're not facing it alone. You've got us right there. You've got someone to support you through it, but only if you use us. If you don't
and you have to
use
be
us,
brave. Exactly. And you have to be brave to trust us, but trust yourself and try new things that you haven't done before. Because like you said before, you know, if you knew better, you wouldn't need our help at this point. Do you know what I mean? So it's kind of like just trying new things. Like if we say that to you, you know, if you don't like a dessert, maybe say no, thank you to when they bring it down. And they've probably never done that before. And I remember I'd never done that before, but I actually do that because I don't really like pudding, which is weird. I know it's weird. I don't like ice cream, which people really get upset about. I don't like ice cream.
It. But then I remember last year when you had to blooming Christmas pudding, and I was like, that is vile. But I always think Christmas pudding is the savoury person's pudding.
100%. Me and my dad are the same. We'd have the cheese, Christmas pudding and the cheese. You know, chocolate brownie, no thank you.
Yeah,
that's
no.
for children.
You know, with Christmas, that's for those little people. But like, it's so funny because when we speak, like over Christmas, it's when we're talking about like, I don't know, say you know, you're like with your mates when you just kind of say like, what you got in, and you'll be like cheese, pate, crackers, and I'm like chocolate, sweets, candy canes.
Yeah, but you know, you are a sweet person. It's kind of it's knowing what you like and actually being able to compromise and make that decision to have less of what maybe you don't love, so you can really enjoy the things you do love. That's fine.
I think that builds such a healthier relationship with food, because you naturally are just looking for, what do I want? Like, what is it I want? A lot of us grew up with parents and in households that perhaps it was you eat what you're given, finish everything on your plate. So actually, I'm giving you permission now to eat what you want. Like, have what makes you happy. Like, what makes you feel good when you're eating it. But the caveat to all of that, if that is what we're doing, you know, I'm having my 2 products, going to afternoon tea. I've got convention the week after, again, 2 products, 3 litres of water. It'll be fine. But I have to accept that if I get on the scales after convention, the likelihood is I'm probably going to see a fluctuation in weight, right? I'm going to see an increase or not as big of a loss. And I think the biggest thing that people trip up on when it comes to making their plans for what they're going to do for an event is they think solely about the food. But in my opinion, you cannot make a decision on what you're eating until you go forward a little bit and think, actually, what is going to happen to my mindset, my headspace, the rest of my journey if after that event I stepped on the scales and I saw something I didn't want to see? Because that might then really change the decision that you make over what you're doing for a certain event. And I know that's how I always look at it. I'm like, is it going to bother me? And don't do that. No, it won't bother me. But really, we know it will.
But
like,
you know
be
it
honest.
will. Yeah, you've got to be honest. We talk about that a lot, like thinking of your future self. What would your future self think of the decision you're going to make today? And we all know. And it's that, oh, I ate it and now I feel really guilty and now I feel rubbish. And it's
but
like,
we know
we're going to feel like that. Yeah. So what made you override that, you know?
Yeah.
And it's never worth it.
Like, you kind of lie to yourself, don't you? Like, I did it all the time.
You do.
And I'm like, it doesn't even bother me. I'm not even going to bother me at all.
I just want it. I'm just going to have it and I'll carry on tomorrow.
Yeah. Because in that moment, what I wanted in that moment was the treat, the food, whatever.
Yeah.
But what I want more is that weight loss and to build that relationship with food up, to be one that is a healthier long-term relationship for me.
Yeah.
So if I'm going to sacrifice that over momentary like pleasure of having whatever, like, I need to be honest with myself that is really going to bug me. And if that means then that I don't have what that little part of my brain would really like to have, then that is just what it is. In the same way that if your kid's asking for ice cream and sprinkles at 7:00 in the morning before school, you're probably going to say, I don't think that's a very good idea. Because I know that probably what's going to happen is you're going to have a massive sugar crash in a couple of hours and then you're going to be like a nightmare. So it's that same kind of thing with yourself. Sometimes you need to parent that little toddler in your brain.
You
That's like, give
do.
me everything. I don't mind. It's
Yeah.
fine. It's like, no, you do mind.
Yeah.
Like,
You
so
do. Be honest with yourself. Yeah.
be honest. And then you can, you can make a plan that's not just going to work for now, but that's going to feed into the longer term goals that you have. And I can guarantee you, right, that any bread roll you say no to, any pudding you say no to, any meal you say no to will mean nothing in about a week's time. But it will mean
well, even
everything.
literally the next day.
Yeah, the next day. And the only thing that will happen is you'll feel amazing. I've never, ever personally or with clients had someone who was stuck to plan and maybe not had food at an event or not drank alcohol or any of that and regretted it.
Never.
Never. I mean, you've done this a lot longer than me. And
11 years, never had anyone regret sticking to plan, ever.
No. But I've had 99% of people regret when they don't, or, when they, and a lot of the time, it's not even that they don't stick to plan, it's that there wasn't a plan. They've just kind of thought, right. I know what I'm going to do.
People try and wing it, don't they?
Yeah. And it's like, why didn't you message me? Like, give me the menu. Like I'm not going to say to you, right.
I love doing that.
Yeah. Like, I had someone the other day, hell of a good menu it was. I don't know, can't remember the restaurant, but when you're looking at one and you're like, God, that's a really nice restaurant.
I want to go there.
And it was a place as well that, like, you're not going to, it had no calories. And let me be honest, nothing on there you would look at and be like, that's a brilliant option to have on plan. Yeah. So we were realistic and we were like, okay, do this, maybe switch out for this or this, do this. And gave her like a roadmap of how to do that meal out. Gave multiple options in case something's not on the menu.
Yeah.
And then she smashed it. She went out, done. She enjoyed her meal. And she was like, I actually enjoyed that. Like, she was like, that made me realise how much I had not actually enjoyed food out before. Yeah. Because she was like, I just felt like I could completely relax and enjoy what I was having. And like, she was like, I almost like tasted it more. And like, it was just amazing.
But you know what? She took your advice. She listened to it. She stuck to what you said. She trusted you.
It. Yeah.
And she tried it. And it worked. And it is about testing and trying our theories and seeing how you feel about it afterwards. Because we know we've done it with hundreds and hundreds of people. We've done it ourselves. We know it works, but you have to do it to know. Yeah. And I think a lot of people are scared to even do it. So that's that kind of like middle ground where people, they're just constantly feeling guilty. They're constantly struggling, but they're not willing to just try something new just once to kind of tip them over and take them over to the other side. I just wish everyone would.
It's like, that's what they say, isn't it? If you do what you've always done, you'll get what you've always got.
Yeah.
If you do what you've always done with food and with weight loss, if you go on to like Just Products, say, and you do that 100%, oh my God, you're smashing it. You're doing amazing. But then an event comes up and you do what you've always done, which is just come off, just have the event and go,
wait the next day, feel guilty about it. Yeah.
Well, nothing's different then. Like nothing has changed. And sometimes I think that can be a bit of a light bulb moment for people who are like, I thought I've been approaching this differently. Yeah. But actually, I clearly haven't.
As soon as that challenge came up, they went back to their normal behaviours. Yeah. And that's common.
Before. Because I think when people hear us say about like doing it differently this time, all people hear is do it 100%, do not come off plan, blah, 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 blah.
Yeah.
And actually that isn't what we're saying. We're saying that, yes, please stick to the step that you're on, regardless of what step that is, because people much smarter than me and Gem figured out that is like, that's going to work. And we have first and second hand experience that when you do it properly, it does, regardless of what step you do. But what we're saying is it's that boom and bust, isn't it? Like, just that's what we need to cut out. And there has to be that element of like virtual trust exercise of you falling back into my arms and just giving something a go. Because otherwise it won't change. It's not being able to stick to a diet that's the problem. You've probably done that in the past. You've probably stuck to a diet. They're
amazing normally at sticking to it. We talk about that middle ground because it's so easy to lose weight and stick to something. If you know you're really good at 1B and you just smash it, lose 3 stone in 3 months, but then every time you have an event, it throws you off, and then here you are again 3 months later doing the whole cycle again. If you can find that middle ground of going out for a meal and not feeling guilty about it, being fully in control, talking to your consultant, having that whole new relationship or that new thing that you've never experienced before, you try it once, you realise it works, you can do that at every event and still get back on plan. And it's literally a revelation for people when they actually crack it.
And that's like maintenance then, isn't it? Because for maintenance, you do your day to day, you stick to those good choices day to day, what have you, and then you have those events that you just don't think about. You just have
it's
whatever
the same
you want.
process, isn't it?
Exactly,
like kind
the
of
same.
And the same process, just more calories.
That's what you're kind of building throughout plan.
Yeah.
And, you know, whether that is something that you choose to do, or whether you choose to just stick 100% to whatever step you're doing. But even if you're listening to this podcast going, do you know what? No, I am sticking to it 100%. I'm going to do it. You still need to have that support and that planning with your consultant, because there'll be times that people are, you know, they'll have events and I'll be like, okay, so kind of what are we thinking that you'd like to do, like for the event? They're like, I'm going to stick to plan 100%. I'm like, okay. Like, and have we told anyone at the event that we're doing this? No, I'm just not going to tell anyone. And I'm like, okay, this isn't going to work. Like, you're going to get to the event. It's going to become really overwhelming. You're going to feel like you're carrying this big elephant in the room. So actually, then we have a question of, are you going to speak to people about it beforehand, or are we going to do something a little bit different so that you can actually navigate that event? Because again, just saying I'm going to stick to it, if that isn't going to be feasible, and it's not like it's not with the best intention, but we know, of course, we know what happens.
We've seen it, and then the guilt afterwards, because you were so sure that you were going to be 100%. You told your consultant you're going to be 100%. You had it planned, but then you couldn't because they bought this meal out and you had to have it, and then you just feel like a massive failure. And you haven't failed at all. You've had one meal, but because you didn't plan for it, or that happens so much, doesn't it?
It happens all the time. But then it's like, you know, you've gone to said event feeling like what's important to you is that you are 100% on plan. What's important to you in this moment is that you stick with what you're doing because of the benefits it's bringing in, how you're feeling, etc. But then you want to go into an environment with people who don't know that you're doing this, and you don't want them to suspect you're doing anything. But how do you expect to be able to stick to plan if you're also trying to act the way that you used to act before you came onto plan and were struggling with your weight? Like, it's never going to work. We tell ourselves, we try and make ourselves believe, oh yeah, I can make it work, it's fine. But actually, it's impossible. And
whenever you have to talk to people.
Yeah, and whenever we talk about plan, you know, losing weight with the plan and then into maintenance, everything will change in your life, whether you like it or not. Nothing in your life as you interacted with food before will be the same, which is a good thing. Don't look at that as a negative thing, because if it was a good thing, like if it was a bad thing, that everything's going to change, then it would mean that maintaining your weight long term and having a better relationship with food is a bad thing. But it's not. It has to change in all aspects.
That's why you're here, isn't it? That's why you come for help, because you want to change.
It doesn't mean that you can't enjoy your food. Doesn't mean you can't have the mince pies and the Christmas. It doesn't mean any of that. But fundamentally, how you approach these situations will be different, because it just has to be. Because every aspect does have to
change. If you want to maintain a lower weight and you want to lose weight, things do have to change.
Yeah, 100%. 100%. But you're not alone in it. There are loads of options that are available. And I think the key takeaway from this episode is that, one, don't leave it till the last minute. Like, start making those plans now, start having those conversations with your consultant now, because the more in control you feel and the more you feel like you are, you know, in the driver's seat of this, the easier it is going to be to then put yourself maybe out of your comfort zone to do those trust exercises or to do those things slightly differently. But I think it's important also to speak to your consultant so that you can get a really realistic expectation of yourself and your weight loss, and, you know, what expectations to have of yourself over the next 6 to 7 weeks. Because you sometimes need someone to say to you almost that approval of, you probably won't lose a stone this month, but that's okay. I don't mind. And sometimes I think people just worry, don't they, that you're going to be like how you're going to view them if maybe that loss isn't as big as it has been before.
Yeah, a lot of people say they feel they've let me down. I'm like, you haven't, honestly. Like, we're in it together. I want to help you. You haven't let me down at all. You know, you're human at the end of the day. People make mistakes. People have regrets, you know, and it's about changing it for the next time. And that's okay.
100%. I feel like that is such a lovely little round off to this week's episode.
That was nice.
And we're going to do a Diet Dilemmas, especially around, you know, this whole subject. So there will be links on our social medias that you can go and check out. I'll put a link in the show notes so you can click there to submit your anonymous questions. And let us know, what are you worried about? Do you have any situations you're not sure how to approach or handle? give us them all, and we're going to try and do a few more diet dilemmas in the run up to Christmas, because we want to be able to help. We want to give you the answers and the support that you need in this period of time, because it is daunting, but we've got your hand. We are holding it through this whole process. So do check out the link, submit your questions. They are all anonymous, and you may be featured then in a future podcast episode. Also, make sure to follow us on our socials. They are always in the show notes. You can go and check out previous episodes talking about all things boundaries, weight loss, everything you could want. The episodes are there, so please have a little flick through, and that could be a way also to start building up those tools and extra bits you need ahead of the Christmas period as well. But for now, it is goodbye from me.
And bye from me.
And we will see you all again really, really soon.